All right, rock and roll.
Okay, good evening everyone, and good evening API Ops community. Awesome to have you. Our audience is growing, that's good. Okay, and just I want to make a quick announcement. So I have announced in the meetup, our next meetup is February 20th, but I think I'm gonna reevaluate that day, maybe put it a little later.
That's Loren's birthday.
That's your birthday?
It is my birthday.
You see?
February
I
20th.
can't
knew what I was
get that
doing.
out of my head now.
I've got 2 words for you.
Your birthday's 2/20/20 this year.
Yeah, it is.
That's
It's
pretty
2/20/20. 2/20/20. I've got 2 words for you. Chocolate cake.
No,
Yes.
no.
Anyway, so sorry, Loren. I think I'm going to move this to a little later in February,
That's
and so
fine.
on and so forth. So I'll basically re-announce it and meetup.com. Again, 5x5. For those of you who are not familiar with that format, that's borrowed from ResFest. 5 minutes, 5 slides, anything you want. Hopefully it's API related, but technically it could be cupcakes, chocolate cakes, or how APIs are used to build cakes, or how Cheesecake Factory uses APIs, something like that. So anyway, without further ado, then I'll have my colleagues, Ankur, Loren, and Courtney. We'll talk about Mavi, which is awesome.
Cool. So, thank you. I will need that applause after I finish. So don't spend it all. So first of all, since you have been in the room, you already know a little bit about Delta Airlines, but most of us are from Delta, and Delta started out in 1925 as a aerial cork dusting company. So people who do not know aerial cork dusting, like I didn't, what they used to do is they would take contracts, they would fly planes over the crops and they would spray chemicals in there. So that is what Delta did. I don't think so that is looked upon very well these days. But Delta grew from that, and probably in 5 years we'll be celebrating our 100th anniversary, and we are one of the most relevant companies still today. And besides Disney, just the other one on that most relevant list.
Love Disney.
Love Delta more. And so this year, Delta was voted as the for the 9th year, the best in business travel. So that's awesome for us. A couple of days back, we delivered $6.2 billion in profit, and out of that, 1.6 went to the employees. Delta loves their employees, and we all we are very happy with the where we work at Delta. So if any of you are thinking of jumping over to Delta, you can meet us. Cool, we got one. 50% of the crowd is converting to Delta.
Half our audience wants
back to us, right? Is that 20%?
That's
1.6 to 6.2?
Yeah.
Yeah. 20% back to us.
That's good.
That's very good.
Yeah, and that's 2 months worth of salary for all of us. So they give it on February 14th because they love us.
That's no coincidence, right?
So every company today is a technology company, and Delta is no different. And recently, if you have been following the news, Delta has been making some waves in technology. Delta does invest equally amongst all the areas that they have, and Delta is a big business. So technology gets as much attention as buying planes, and they do not do a preferential buying of planes versus technology. So recently, Delta CEO Ed Bastian had gone to CES, and he hosted the keynote. And in Delta, Delta collected 14 out of 15 Best in Business awards at CES, which is absolutely great for an airline company, because traditionally people do not associate an airline company with technology. Parallel reality and exoskeleton were two of the technologies that really are making waves. So Delta is looking to use technology to improve the customer experience and become a better airline. Even after 100 years, still try to improve, show that continuous improvement. So the first story of the evening is from 2009. Delta had just merged with Northwest, and Delta decided that they wanted to make customer lives easy during IROP. So for those who do not know what IROP is, it is irregular operations when your flight gets delayed by more than 20 minutes due to a mechanical issue or because of weather, mostly during this winter time. Delta decided that they would like to give the control of changing those flights and finding those connections over to customers. And it is easier said than done, because once your flight gets delayed, there are, if you know about the traveling salesman problem, there are multiple ways to route you through so that you can reach your destination. And there are multiple rules. Delta is an international airline, and sometimes the visa rules might work in the favor, or sometimes it might not, so you have to consider those. You cannot leave children stranded, unaccompanied minors stranded overnight. So it was a complicated project, and if it was not really complicated, Delta decided that they wanted to build some new services at the same time that they implemented this project and gave the control to the customers on delta.com. So I was part of that team, and we did not have any services to rely on. Everything was getting built parallelly, one of the most difficult things to do in technology. So we decided that we realized very quickly that none of us knew about any of the IROP rules or anything about IROP. I mean, that was probably the first time I had even heard about IROP. But luckily we had a business analyst who had worked for Delta for many years, Kent Kelly, and he was very good at it. So we decided that most of our lead developers would get into a room, and what we would do is, we knew which services are going to be built. We are going to flow our data from one service to the other and to the end, and build an entire flow. So we decided to do that. We just sat in that room there, all of us huddled together. It was winter time, and somebody in building maintenance thought that anyways, no, too many people don't turn up during holidays, right? So let's turn off the air conditioning. And it was not as warm a winter as it is in Atlanta today. So we were shivering, but we were getting some work done during those holidays. So that went on, I think so, for a month. We did the design phase, and then it is a waterfall method at that time. So we had to do design first, and then we had to go into our coding. So we went into coding. We